Hi there, we're submitting Part Inc. for Sitefinity Digital Experience Project of the Month. This was a project that took a very complex ecosystem, and our main goal was to make it into a very friendly user experience. Through strategy, design, technical integrations and implementations, we were able to make sure that a very dense product catalog and a very disparate group of users could navigate the website easily, make sure that we could have a solid and secure checkout process, and do so with the collaboration of the PAR team from marketing to development and everywhere in between. One of the biggest things about this project was making sure that their thousands of products could easily be digested, analyzed, filtered out for different users. And so the design was a huge part of this project. So Eric, as lead designer on this, what would you kind of consider the biggest parts of this project?
There's a lot to really go through, I think, in terms of what we consider on this project. There's your unique challenges you have in the design process with each client that you work with, and this one was no exception. You have the unique sets of things that, a lot of websites are coming to us where, they're becoming outdated. They need a fresh look in terms of their branding, but they also have their users in mind really throughout every step of this way too. So making sure, we're putting in layouts that are easy for users to move through, that their designs are meeting the needs that their branding, a lot of brands don't get the chance to really, evolve their brand at the same time they're ready to do a website. So, starting in our creative process, chunking things out for users to really, think through the process here too. So we don't want to chew on, the aesthetics of the site. We don't want to be thinking about the layout of the site all in one conversation. So really making sure we get the aesthetics and look that they're trying to achieve, the colors, the icons, the imagery, and separating that from really the structure of the page, the order of what users need to see, when they need to see it, not overwhelming them. There's a lot of steps and, different types of personas that are involved with this project. So, making sure we're considering, people coming in maybe as parents that need to get information for their students or children. You have the people who are certified that are coming here to get the testing material so that they can give this and, give out their tests. So there's a lot to kind of consider in terms of the types of users and how each person wants to use it too. So, really bringing together the overall look with, the experience that we want to make sure, the users are getting, the useful information, and it's a very usable site overall. So a lot of great challenges. I think we got to a great place with that.
One of the things that I remember working on specifically was you have all these different users, right? And then you have to be able to say, we have 9 different versions of this product, but we want to be pushing folks toward this one without discriminating against the other ones. So I know that took, there was a lot of back and forth on this project and working collaboratively with PAR on what is a coherent flow of this system. So what was that like from your perspective, being able to try and take a very ethereal idea and break it down into a series of steps that was coherent enough for the user to follow?
That's really a lot that we went through to get to where we ended up with the site. So, the first start, we had to really make sure we empathize with the client, what their needs are, what products that were really important to them to get across, which ones are the most popular selling, which ones, a certain portion of their business, really thinking about which ones they want to promote on the site while still kind of considering, different types of users and things that, might not be their bestseller, but are very important things for users to find and get easily on their site. So, structuring out their pages so it was easy for a user to, make their own decisions in terms of, products that are, elevated on the site from the homepage, allowing them to get into the product catalog and really, dive deeper and drill down. I think it's easy to overwhelm users by putting too many options in front of them and, making sure that, they can naturally go from the homepage or any entry point of the site and still get to those products. So, learning about the different types of products was one side of it, but then also how each of their users are going to end up using it and then taking it from the site and going forward with it. So, a lot of intricate ways that these things work together, and it was, a real learning process for our team to, feel the same challenges that they had.
Yeah, and I mean, you did a great job in terms of marrying the form and the function together. When we presented these designs initially, they were they were in love with the vision that you put forward, and it was different than what they had, which is great. And the site looks great. So, I mean, you did a great job. Our entire team, from soup to nuts, did a really great job putting this together. We couldn't have done it without the PAR team as well. There was co-development on this project, a lot of conversations, a lot of technical complexities. But the goal still at the end of the day was, how do we break this down and make sure their users can find what they need and check out successfully and be a longtime member of PAR's products. So we're excited to submit this for Digital Experience Project of the Month, and it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to building on that relationship and seeing where else we can go and other things that we can work on. But I think it was a really successful project overall, and we're very excited to submit it.